Hey everyone, Nigerian exjw speaks here. I hope you are doing well. It is over the weekend when I'm recording this. For the first time, I am recording in advance, so I have time to do the editing, because if you can see from my last video, I've been playing around with editing, and I think I can do it. So I thought I'll record in advance so I give myself time to actually do it before it happens. So if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Trust, and I make content for ex-witnesses who are in the process of waking up, asking questions, just to reassure them that they're not crazy, they're not mad. There's other of us here who've had the same questions and made that transition. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, because apparently that helps more people see it, and subscribe as well. There is a disproportionate amount of people who are watching and not subscribing. I don't know why. Subscribe. Yeah? Good. Okay, so frivolities out of the way. This is a bit of a serious video today. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet as a title. It's going to be a serious one, so brace yourself. I will actually say that if you are someone who still subscribes and believes in the God of the Bible and thinks the Bible is the inherent word of God, then this might be a difficult video for you to watch. So, feel free to exit and come back for another one. But, if you want to stay, absolutely great as well. I believe in, I fully support the approach of not staying in an echo chamber, exposing ourselves to different perspectives and asking questions, because that's how we learn. So if you do decide to stay, fantastic. That's great. Okay, so you've been warned. Right, so what brought about this video for me was just this week watching the Hardin video that they put out in the John Cedars channel. I will put a link to that video either in the time card placed on top or in the description. Just there'll be that video somewhere. And it's a long video. Llyod and his team, they did a fantastic job of covering the issues. I am going to say that at this point, that the particular case hasn't fully been through the court system yet. They are allegations at this point, so I am going to refer to them as alleged. So it is the alleged case of not just an individual pedophile in the Jehovah's Witness faith, but we're potentially dealing with an alleged pedophile ring. So a group of elders and ministerial servants who over the course of a number of years hurt a number of children. That is potentially what we're dealing with. Now, on a personal level, knowing what I know about the witnesses, the countless number of cases that have gone to court where they have been found, the perpetrators have been found guilty, the organization have been found liable of negligence, I don't have any reason to think that the allegations are not true. But of course, they have to go through the court system for that to, come to a conclusive position where we can say that they have been convicted. But even this turned out not to be true. There are so many cases that have happened in the past that just made me want to make this video. Like I said, Llyod and his team, they did a great job of covering the incident and the cases. But as I was watching it, what was going on for me in here was, where does the God who is supposed to be in charge of this organization, the universe, where does he fit into this? What role or lack thereof is he meant to be playing or not playing? And so I had some questions, some thoughts that I want to put forward. It's not to stop you believing whatever you do believe, but it's just questions that I want to raise and talk about. So whenever I've had discussions, either myself or heard discussions about horrific things that have happened, and the whole people asking why is God letting this happen? I think that's one of the more common questions that people have. And one answer that comes up time and time again that I've heard from Christians is that free will. God gave us free will. He does not want us to be robots, and whatever we decide to do with that free will, he can't be held responsible for that. He's not liable for the things that we do decide to do with our free will. Okay. So what I want to do today is set forward some precedents, some cases that allegedly happened according to the Bible that for me calls into question that argument of God does not interfere with free will. And going further than that, examine, okay, what does that tell us about the priorities of the God of the Bible? As you may or may not know, I don't subscribe to the Christian faith. I don't believe the Bible is the word of any God. So I have no horse in the race sort of thing, but I just wanted to raise some questions. So precedent, I am talking about precedent in sort of the legal sense. So when a judge is handling a case and he's ready to make a ruling or deciding what the ruling should be, it is not uncommon for them to go back and draw on previous precedents. So a similar case that has happened in the past, how was that ruled? What were the factors that were looked at? In fact, personally, I have been a beneficiary of precedents in the past myself. So if you are in Europe, you may or may not know of the Zambrano case from Ruiz Zambrano. I am going to put a screenshot here at this point. If it works, so I'm going to put it here. Okay, so that case is essentially saying that a person who is an EU or British citizen who has the right to live in the country in Europe or in Britain, their parent or caregiver has a right to be with them, to live there, work there, and they cannot be sent away. If their parent or carer being asked to leave would mean that the EU citizen has to leave as well, because that would be a breach of their rights to live there. And so I have been a beneficiary of that as well with my son, who happens to be an EU national. He needs me to be here, and so by extension, I have a right to live here, work here, stuff like that. So thinking about the God of the Bible, who, if you were raised a witness of, just even raised a Christian, God is meant to be the ultimate judge. So he doesn't even have to refer to any precedent from a different judge. He has been running the show right from the start of time. So he knows what cases he's ruled previously, how he's taking action, what he's taking action on. And so I wanted to reflect on some of those today. So in the matter of CSA, the abuse of children, we're not talking of one-off cases here. We have a real problem. There is a real problem. I am going to put screenshots of some of the statistics, some of the research that I saw. I think, is it 1 in 8 that doesn't get reported, or the other way around? I am going to put a screenshot of that. Also, in terms of incidents, it's anywhere from 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men to 1 in 10. So that's sort of range. That's the amount of people that we're talking about here. I mean, if you are a former witness, you will know of the Australian Royal Commission, which happened in 2015, where just in Australia alone, within the witnesses, in a space of 5 decades, there were written down a file kept for 1,066 perpetrators, not victims, perpetrators that had not been reported to the police. So I dread to think about what the number will be, how many victims they would have had. If we extrapolate that to what about across the 8 million witnesses there are globally, and then the 8 billion people in the world, it's mind-boggling numbers that I can't even think about. So we're talking about a lot of people here having their lives being completely ripped to shreds as children, where without getting adequate support, counseling at some point, some sort of therapy, some sort of way to deal with it, could well and does mean in a lot of cases that their lives are impacted in a way, I'm not going to get upset, in a way that is beyond repair. That's what we're dealing with. So free will, precedent. I have a precedent to put forward to you. In the Bible book of Numbers chapter 22, from verse 22, I am either going to put just the name of the Bible verses, or if I can get a screenshot of the verses itself, I'll put them on one of them. Just depends on how much editing I can do. So Numbers 22, from around verse 22, we have this alleged case of some guy called Balak who had been sent to curse God's people, and apparently he didn't like it, and so he decides to intervene. According to this Bible book, an angel was personally sent to literally stand in the way, literally block the way, stopping Balak from going forward. Literally stood in his way and stood there. That went on for so long. The man was desperately trying to move forward. He was beating up his donkey. Why are you not going? That is a man who clearly wants to go, and he's being stopped against his will. He did not have the free will to go at that point. We even have a case of the donkey ultimately speaking, talking donkeys. That's the sort of stories you have in there. A donkey spoke. The angel was like, if the donkey didn't stop you, you would have been killed. So we have direct intervention, physically blocking the path. Can you tell me if we can have an angel physically stand in the way, stopping someone going forward to lay a curse, if you believe in curses that might ultimately cause harm? Why can we not have that precedent taken for a case of someone who is going out with the intention of hurting a child? How does the free will argument hold in that? Because here we have a precedent. People are being stopped from going where they want to go. The second precedent that I have, because there are quite a number of layers to this thing. So let's say, okay, we're not stopping them on their way. In the book of Acts chapter 5, verse 3 up until verse 10, again, I'm going to put the name of the book and verse on there. We have a story of a couple who, Ananias and Sapphira, who apparently, according to this story, they had sold a piece of land that belonged to them, and they had come before Peter and his mates and brought a portion of the proceeds, and they were claiming that was the whole thing. According to this story, God decided to send his spirit to reveal to Peter that they were lying. So when we're talking about proceeds from a piece of land, it's important enough for the Spirit of God to get involved, to reveal to Peter that, no, this is a lie, and Peter called them out on it. The relevance to this case for me is, just imagine if that sort of attention was being paid by this God character, if it exists, to cases where someone's been accused, he's gone before the elders, there is no second witness, so this dodgy 2-witness rule that they have, stating that for them to even take an allegation seriously, there has to be either 2 victims or 1 victim and a witness. So 2 witnesses. So cases where there is just 1 victim or no witness, they usually, if the accused person denies it, that's the end of it. They leave it in Jehovah's hands. Imagine those cases where the person goes forward, they've done it, and they're saying that they haven't, because why wouldn't they deny it? If God can go at it with the same sort of intensity as he goes over money, over a piece of land, to reveal to those body of elders that no, he's lying, he's actually done it, so they can call him out on it. Can you imagine how many cases there would be of people not being able to go out and reoffend and hurt more children and more children? I mean, there is still the whole issue of, even when it's confirmed that that actually happened, there's still the case of they don't actually report it to the authorities who actually know how to deal with it, but that's a second issue. Can you imagine how many cases we would have had of people not going on to reoffend if God, who can reveal that, no, this is not all the money they made from a piece of land, if he can do the same and reveal to this body of elders that, no, he's lying, he actually did it. We're not talking about free will here. How about just revealing that it's actually happened? Because we know that so many of these monsters go on to affect many children. In this alleged case in Hardin, Montana in the US, we are potentially talking of one person abusing 3, 4, multiple children. What if they were revealed on the very first time so that they didn't have a chance to do it again? And to take it even further, this story in the Bible, apparently it wasn't enough for God to just reveal that it happened. He took it a step further. He executed them straight away. Swift justice. Imagine if that approach was taken for people who had hurt children. Is the priority that skewed? Is getting the proceeds from the sale of a piece of land more important than children's lives potentially being ruined forever? Just something to think about. So that was my second precedent. The next point that I had in mind was not so much a precedent, but drawing from statements that are in the Bible. So in the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, 46 verse 9 and 10, there are words to the effect of, God can foretell everything that's going to happen. Right from the start, he knows. And this is not the only verse in the Bible that, says words to the effect of, God knows everything that's going to happen. The witnesses do a funny dance about this one. The apologetics is sickening. So they say something to the effect of, yes, he can know everything that's going to happen, but he chooses not to know. I don't know where they get that from, but I don't buy it. It clearly says that he knows everything that's going to happen. So I'm going with that. Now, let's look at the many layers, the many steps, opportunities that this God would have had to stop this happening. First of all, how about the person doesn't get born in the first place? I mean, we can nip it right there. Okay, let's say they get born, but they're not born in an area where they can follow through with this. How about they don't become a witness? How about you stop them getting appointed as an elder or as a ministerial servant, putting them in a position of power where they have access to children, where people are going to trust? How about at any of those points, you don't let that happen? Because you know what's going to happen, apparently. How about at any of those points, you cut it off so it doesn't happen? I mean, with our flawed human systems, if we know that something bad's going to happen, we try and stop it. What comes to mind, a body like the CIA or the FBI, or I don't know what we have, MI6 here in the US, I don't know, I don't follow that stuff. But if they get wind of information that someone is going to commit a crime that's going to hurt people, they do everything in their power to try and stop it before it happens, because their priority, and rightly so, is for the well-being of the victims, the people who are going to suffer from that act. They know it's going to happen. They do everything they can to stop it before it happens. Can you tell me why the supposed God of the Bible, who knows exactly what's going to happen, has the power to stop it at so many different points, doesn't do it? And don't tell me it's about their free will, because we've seen how he gets involved in free will, physically stopping people going places. If they weren't born, that doesn't interfere with their free will in any way whatsoever. If they're not appointed into positions of power, that doesn't interfere with their free will in any way. Why is this not stopped at any point before we get to that place where they can actually do that? So that was the other point. So, I mean, a bit of a rant off that. The next time, this is people who subscribe to this, the next time you want to tell someone about how you're so grateful that God orchestrated some event, some delay for you to not leave the house as quickly as you wanted to. Either you couldn't find your keys quickly, but it was God's doing, so then you avoided traffic or you avoided some incident on the road. The next time you want to congratulate yourself and your God for that, can I please ask that you ask a question? What makes you so special? What makes your avoiding traffic more important than a child's life being ruined indefinitely? Why can that sort of orchestration of events not happen when these monsters are trying to leave the house to go hurt a child? Why does he not orchestrate such a thing so that they don't get there until someone who can look out for the interests of that child is there, so they don't get a chance to do what it is they want to do? So the next time you want to congratulate that, please think about what makes you so special. What makes you more important? And what does that say about the priorities of a God who would selectively orchestrate events like that? To sort of wrap up things, or at least get into the wrapping up stage, we have looked at the cases. Is this not a one-off thing? This is stuff that's happening on an industrial scale. Lives are being ruined every day, but within the witness faith, outside the witness faith, any environment where you have people having access to children, people in power, looking at those statistics, it's clearly happening. And if there was convincing evidence for me that the God of the Bible existed, I still wouldn't get on the program of a God who has this kind of priorities. I mean, the last precedent that I want to finish on is a case that I talked about in my first video, my very first one, where I talked about 4 Bible stories that really bothered me when I was a witness. And I had people coming under that video, making apologetics, trying to explain away what the book literally said. It said what it said. You can't trying to make excuses. The witnesses are good at doing this. They have sections softened, words softened within their New World Translation to absorb some of the blame from their. I'm not doing that. That's what it says. So one of the stories on there that I want to finish on, it's the story of Uzzah. I believe that is in 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 6 and 7. Essentially, according to this story, there is a procession of the Israelites, dancing, going somewhere, carrying the Ark of Covenant and all of that good stuff. And apparently during this trip, the cattle, the animals that were carrying the Ark of Covenant, something rattled them. And so the Ark of Covenant was about to fall. And this man called Uzzah, deliberately, not deliberately, I think it was instinct. Somebody was arguing with me there that no, it wasn't instinct. He should have known that he wasn't supposed to touch it. I don't care whether he meant to, didn't mean to. It was about to fall. He put his arm out to steady it, to stop it falling. And for that, he was struck down dead on the spot. Instantaneous execution for touching a religious object. But people who touch children, people who hurt children, they go on for extended periods of time. We don't get that kind of swift justice. We don't get that kind of instant. Imagine how much of a deterrent it would be if people who touch children get instant justice just like that, just like we allegedly got for touching a religious object. What are the priorities of this God? Quick decision over a piece of land and the money made from it. Quick decision, like physically causing a barrier, stopping someone who is going to allegedly coerce his people. instant execution for someone touching a religious subject, but you touch kids, you hurt kids, you go on at it for years and years, and there's absolutely a lot of the time they get away with it. So those were the things that I was thinking as I was watching that. Like, where does the alleged God of the Bible comes in? And I just wanted to put some thoughts out there for you to think about. Like I said, I don't personally subscribe to the God of the Bible, any of that. Having said that, I do not profess to know why we're here. I do not profess to know why there is something rather than nothing. And I'm fine with not knowing. But the God of the Bible doesn't make sense. If there was evidence, which I haven't seen anything that I'm convinced of, but if there was convincing evidence, we're gonna have to go our separate ways, because I cannot get behind the program of this sort of priorities. It seems kind of messed up. So I'm gonna leave it there before I get too upset. Like I said, I will try and insert those screenshots on here. I want to hear what you think as well. The intention is not to be offensive. If you are someone who believes, that was not my intention at all. It's to share some thoughts that I've been thinking about from watching that, and I'll be watching that case closely. Just like the other ones. It's within the same Montana that the witnesses went to court for their right to cover up abuse. The same Montana. So it's a lot of sick, twisted stuff going on. I'm going to leave it there, like I said. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your comments. Have you had similar questions? I'm not going to get into any debate of, what the scriptures may not mean. I am reading the stories as it says it in there, as it says it happened, and looking at what there are precedents that we have of God allegedly taking actions for things that are apparently important to him, and let him run free the things that are not. Okay, so I am gonna, before I finish, if you're sticking around, put a video here that you can go ahead and watch next. Why not? I think I have playlists and things that you can go ahead and watch, and subscribe and share it. If you know of someone that you think would be useful to hear these questions, think it through, feel free to share it with them as well. I think this is potentially one of my longest videos, so I'm gonna shut up and stop talking. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll speak to you on the next one.